Hi, it's Jory with Tate in Studio. Welcome back to another episode, and in today's video I'll be building this modern white oak dining table. Now I'm using 8/4 white oak for the tabletop and the legs. Now 8/4 essentially means that it's 2 inches thick when it comes in. Now I'm just cutting it to the lengths here. So the table came in at about 62 inches long by about 44 inches wide. So I always like to oversize the boards probably about 4 to 6 inches, and that just gives me enough wiggle room. So once I glue all those boards together and I cut it to the final length, I don't have to be worrying about having it slightly undersized. So I always like to just go a little bit larger. So yeah, I'm just running the boards through the jointer here and just checking to make sure that they're straight, and I've taken off all the rough edges. And once I've done running them through the jointer, I just head over to the planer and I'm just flattening them out there. So you can see that I flatten the one board and then I go over to the next board and I flatten that out to the same amount. And what I do with that is I just do the one board, then the second, the third, and then all those thicknesses come in at the same. So when I do the glue up, I don't have to worry about them being different heights. So now I like to actually just sort of mark out here where I'm going to put the dominoes are, and what they are just little pieces of wood that I just slot in the side of the wood. And what that essentially does is they're all at the same depth, like height from the top of the board down. So when I glue those boards, they'll stay nice and flat together. Now it doesn't really add much strength to the glue up because the glue itself is plenty strong enough. Actually, today's modern technology is that the glue is actually stronger, the bond is stronger than the wood itself. So it's just strictly for alignment purposes. But yeah, I'm just kind of doing all that domino, doing the slots, and then I'm just applying the glue here and just spreading it out nice and liberally so I don't have any starved spots of glue. So once I do that, you can see I'm just sort of lining those dominoes there and just banging them in, and it is a snug fit, but that's just fine. Once it's all in and I get the last board in, I just get the clamps and clamp it up and do a nice even pressure, and so yeah, that's essentially it. And then once that's all said and done and it's all glued up and the glue's dry, I take it out of the clamps and I'm just starting the sanding process. And I always like to start off with 60 grit just to do a rough sanding, because sometimes there is a little bit of ridges here and there, but I just smooth them out. And once I've done that, I just cut the table to its final length. Now the customer did request a 62-inch table, but I think with that little bit of extra, it came in at about 63 inches long. As you can see, I kind of missed that cut there. It was off a bit, so I had to cut it again. And so anyways, and I'm just doing the round over on the edge there, and I end up doing a 3/8 round over on the corners, and then just along the top and the bottom edge, I do a 1/8 round over bit. And when I find it comes to modern furniture, that gives it a nice crisp look there. So now after I've done that, I'm just moving on to the leg pieces here. So it's just basically those offcut pieces from the tabletop. I'm just cutting them to the rough width here. Now I think the legs came in at about 4 inches wide. So I've cut those just at about 4 1/4 or something like that, and then I do end up taking over to the jointer and planer. But you can see that there is actually a bunch of waste there. Now when I do make these tables, I always have to take into consideration that there is quite a bit of wasted wood at the end of the day. So that's just something I have to kind of compensate for. So, but yeah, just running them through the jointer, and then the planer here you can see, and I'm just doing them all that same height. Now, because those legs are slightly angled, there is a 5-degree taper on it. So the top of the leg was at about 36 inches wide, I think. And then the bottom of the leg came to about 30 inches. So the point that does is on the ground. It's 30 inches wide, so it's lots of stability. Now the joinery method I'm using is the domino again, but these are larger dominoes. They're 8 millimeters thick by 50 millimeters long. And yeah, you can just see I'm just putting those slots in. I'm doing 4 per connection point, so it's going to be a extremely strong joint, so I don't have to worry about them racking or anything like that. Now once that's all said and done, I'm just putting in all the dominoes, and I'm just kind of doing a dry fit here. And yeah, it's just sort of a time lapse here of me kind of putting it together and just kind of pushing it in, and it ended up being a very snug fit, so that's really good. I don't have to worry about you know, any sort of loose fitting or whatever. But ended up applying the glue off camera, and now I'm just doing the clamp up, and was able to just use the couple clamps there and clamp them together. And you can see with those dominoes, when you cut the slots, you can actually you can adjust the width of the cut. So I always make the second cut a little bit wider on the opposing piece so that I can sort of have a little bit of wiggle room. So you can see me just sort of tapping those pieces into place. And then once that's done, I'm just going over and doing the sanding. And after the sanding, I use a router, a 1/8 router bit just over the edge. So I need to drill the holes to attach the legs to the underside. Now, I'm gonna drill them here. I probably should have pre-drilled them before I attached the pieces, but I didn't, so whatever. I ended up making this little jig. So I've got the hole for the bolt to go through, and then I've got the countersink for the Forstner bit. So I'll move up the camera here and you can see. So essentially what I've got is the jig here, and I've got a bit, so I'm gonna drill a hole this way, and then I can rotate it around and then drill this one, and then I can do the Forstner bit and countersink that hole, I don't know, probably 1/2 inch or something like that. So yeah, the jig obviously I made off camera there, but I'm just drilling it through, and they were 1/4 inch bolts that I used, but I think I used maybe a 3/8 drill bit just to give it enough wiggle room, because those that tabletop, the wood sort of expands and contracts over the different seasons with the humidity levels. So yeah, anyways, just go back with the Forstner bit, and you can see that it's got the recess, so when I do end up putting those bolts through, you won't see them. Now here I'm just sort of lining up the legs, doing the spacing and what have you, and then once I get the spacing all done, I just take the drill bit and I just tap it there, and I can see where the mark is. And then I'm just pre-drilling the hole because I'm using threaded metal inserts, and so I just drill those holes, and then I come back with a countersink, so it just puts a little bit of a ridge, because those threaded inserts do have a slight taper on the top. And yeah, so and I just put them in there, and I got just a touch wood glue there, which actually sticks very well to steel, and I'm just keeping them in there. So finally, the finishing process, I am spraying on a water-based finish. It's the General Finishes matte finish. And I'm just doing the underside here, but yeah, the sprayer is really nice. It goes really quick, and it puts a coat on really quickly, and it dries quickly. So unfortunately, I don't have a spray booth, so one of these days I got to get to building one of those. But yeah, you can see actually on that leg a little bit. I don't know, it must have been I don't know, some sort of gunk or something that got in the gun that I ended up having to wipe off. But yeah, it's a pretty simple process, and I think I put 5 coats of finish on, so it came out really nice at the end. But yeah, that's pretty much the build, and you can see the table here, and it turned out just great. The customers were super happy. But thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe. But have a great rest of your day, and thanks for watching. Bye.